Welcome or welcome back to another episode of Magomaresco. Today we have another solo episode, and I'm super excited for today's topic. Today we're talking about our reality is limited, and as someone who grew up very pessimistic, very negative, and it still can tend to be very negative or very pessimistic person, I've really learned and try to have a lot of resources and tools to help me out during those times of when I'm in my head too much and when I'm feeling these intense emotions of sadness or negativity, of just wanting to be myself by myself and curl up in my bed. I've really tried to use those tools and with the things I've been learning about like personal development, life, and the universal laws and stuff like that, and things about the universe, I've really I have learned that our reality is very limited, and so I'm really excited to talk about that today. Again, I have notes on on the topic I'm going to be talking about, so it's not going to be all over the place, but it's still going to be somewhat all over the place. But so hopefully what's that phrase? Like, hopefully you could be with me. I don't think that's how you say it, but hopefully you could understand. Okay, so I have three, four, five, six. So to give some context on like why I believe that our reality is limited. Like, I've been watching a lot of podcast episodes. There's like a lot of insects here. But yeah, so I've been watching a lot of podcast episodes, especially paranormal stuff, but it's like people who have these gifts of psychic abilities, who can give you a lot of guidance, who have connection to the higher power. And some people may not believe that, like that's okay, but I personally do. And if you watch a previous some I think like the third or fourth episodes ago, I did a episode where I talk about my palm reading experience. So all of that is like very interesting because we think that, like, before I used to believe like life was meaningless and like you have to give it meaning, and maybe I still like think that way in some sense, but it's like once you start believing that higher power, or you start connecting with it, you start connecting again, because there's also a lot of like scientific stuff, like the quantum realm, in Spanish like santos cuánticos, the frequency, vibrations, energy, all that, like everything, like this sorry this campo mental, how do you say that in English? Mental mental camp. I don't know how you say it in English, but we're surrounded with this like energy, with our own energy, and depending on our thoughts, depending on our actions, depending on our beliefs, we attract all these different we attract different things to ourselves. And that's why that's why we that sorry that's why I say our reality is limited, because you know we have grown up with these beliefs, these thoughts, these habits, and we think this is our reality and this is going to be our reality forever. But in reality, it is not, because once we are aware that whatever we think, feel, and do influence our reality, that means that I could start changing my thoughts, how I feel, and the things I do to start changing my reality and change it into a reality that I want. And that's when you start becoming conscious and aware, and you start taking responsibility for your own life, which sucks when which can suck in the beginning when you realize that, because you, or at least personally, I got a lot of guilt of like, I'm here because of me. I'm here because of my choices. But then we also have to remind ourselves and be compassionate of the thing that we grew up with these beliefs, and life and recurring events kept us what's the word, kept us in believing those thoughts, feelings, and actions. Like, they confirmed, and they, oh, there's another word I'm thinking about, but I can't remember what it is. But they pretty much confirm to that these thoughts are true, that these feelings are true, and that these actions have to keep going. And so it's really, so when we start becoming, having this awareness, you start taking responsibility, you start changing your thoughts, you start changing how you feel, you start changing, and you start learning about all this stuff. Because I think once you start learning about this stuff, you kind of like get into it, and you go into this like downward spiral and then this upward spiral as well, because it's a lot of fluctuation emotions of you trying to change but then self-sabotage, and then it's like you have to start breaking those limiting beliefs up by yourself, and then you also got to start loving yourself more, and then you start loving yourself more, but then you get an anxiety attack, or you start those beliefs that you thought you had already healed, and those things that triggered you thought were already somewhat healed, like it brings you back to another week. I'm not talking about my experience, but it brings you back to another week of sadness, of like anger, and it's like, okay, but then thankfully you already have these resources, and you start changing your reality again. You start telling yourself, okay, no, actually, I'm good. I understand where this is coming from. It's not fair for the people who are with me to get this version of myself, because it's not their fault. Like, I have to deal with these emotions, and if I want to talk about it, then I'll talk about it. But if not, then you have to deal with them. And maybe it's not like the best way, but this is how I'm approaching it. So I think one of the important things, and I think the cool thing about this too, is that you start believing in this higher power. So whether it's like your own religion, or at least personally, I identify it as the universe, God, interchangeably, but universe is more applicable to, is more, I trust, or I think because there's such a connotation with sorry, with the word God, I feel more connected with the word universe, just because it's very um universal. So when you start like praying, and start talking to the unknown, to the universe, to God, you start feeling this connection, because your frequency starts rising, if that makes sense. Sorry if I don't know how to explain this terminology, because I'm still, even though I've been learning about this stuff for the past like 2-3 years, it's been really hard for me to explain these things as well. But nevertheless, I think once we start becoming aware of these things, we start changing our thoughts, we start changing how we feel, we start changing our actions, we start to learn more, we start questioning, and we start to reflect on what we actually want. And once we are clear, or have more clarity on what we want, it allows us to focus on those things and to start creating that reality. It makes it easier for the universe to guide you, and for you to take the action, or for us to take the action that is needed to get to where we want. Because the universe could give you signs, could give you guidance, could give you whatever you want, but it's also a lot about action, a lot of learning the skills, improving your skills, networking, connecting with other people, improving your skills, whether it be editing, negotiations, pitching, communication, public speaking, whatever it is. But through those small habits, that guy just ran 2 laps. Sorry. But through those small habits, you're going to start changing your reality. And sometimes you may feel like you're not changing anything, and sometimes you may feel like your reality isn't changing. But it's kind of like that compound effect as well, because if you know the compound effect, or you don't, it's pretty much where it's this like steady line of you doing repeated stuff, and then out of nowhere, it kind of like zooms up. It's an exponential growth, and that's the exponential change. And for me, for a very long time, I felt like, oh man, I'm not doing enough, or I'm still in the same space. But I've been consistent with a few stuff where, if I would have let them go, and if I would have gone back to my old habits, I would have been in a completely different space mentally and physically, because some of the habits that I've really stuck or sticked in, what's the word? Some of the habits that I've been consistent with, it's been exercising, and that one started since like 2020. And yeah, there might be months where I'm not exercising. Like right now, I haven't exercised for the past 2 weeks, but I know that I could easily go back into it like next week or maybe next month. But it's not gonna be a long-term thing. I know when it's time to get back into it. And even when I'm not exercising fully, I'm doing certain things. So for example, even like these 2 weeks that I haven't exercised like properly, or like those 15-20 minutes, I've been stretching, and doing I'm working on doing a pull-up. So I've been doing the scallop pull-ups, so it's just moving my shoulders up and down in the pull-up, and I could now stay longer. And even though I haven't exercised for the past 2 weeks, so I've done like little stuff like that, my push-ups as well. They haven't been consistent, but I try to do them at least 2-3 times a week. So just like those little habits really help you, because not to fat shame, but if I would have stopped exercising, I would have gotten chubbier, or I wouldn't be in the physical state that I would want to be. Like, so all of this stuff has helped me stay where I kind of want to be in some areas of my life, like especially in this case, health. And then other stuff that I've done too is like somewhat being consistent with a podcast. Even though I took a break from like March to June, June, I knew I had to get back into it, and I had to like kind of figure out what I wanted to do. So all of that, like even like creating, like having this podcast makes like is already challenging my reality, because it's like I always had those thoughts of, well, who cares what I say, like why would people care of what I'm like, why would people care of what I see? Like even like now I'm like struggling to express myself, and I don't know why. But oh my god, those are big dragonflies. But it's me challenging this reality, because I know at some point I want to be at a place where I'm making money out of this podcast. I'm making money out of the YouTube channel in general, out of my content. I want to somehow have an impact. I don't know how. Like there's this accountability group that I'm offering, but at the end of the day, I'm still not sure what I want to do, and just challenging my beliefs of, okay, if you really don't know what you want to do, like you've had this idea of the podcast, like keep going with that, and you don't know where that's gonna take you, and at the end of the day, you're practicing your speaking skills, your communication skills, because they are whack, they are horrible. So you definitely need to practice that, and this is a great way to, one, get out of your comfort zone, and two, practice your skills, and three, just sharing your voice with other people maybe at some point who maybe at some point are gonna need this type of conversation, or just this permission to be themselves. Because me, Andrea, in 2024, at the age of 23, had no idea what she wanted to do with her life, and she just faked it till she made it, or became it, or become it. Because there's that phrase of fake it till you become it. But either way, either of those two phrases, I'm showing up, and even though I may not show up fully, I'm showing up some way, somehow. Like this, me recording these videos is already a win, and it's again challenging their reality that I don't have to be stuck at home. I don't have to be stuck at home being sad because I live in this small ass room. Like no, like you could go out places. You go to an open space like this where you're here with nature, where you're seeing these bugs fly around and chase each other around, and this water and squirrels, and the bees doing their job of pollination, and you realize that you're just a small person in this grand universe, and where things don't make sense sometimes, and that's just sometimes that's how it's gonna be, and you just gotta keep going. You just gotta keep going. At the end of the day, you just gotta keep going, and actually, there's these three questions that I to start, because I'm thinking about life too much right now, but there's these three questions that I will recommend. Look, there's this white butterfly. Hopefully, you were able to see it during the video. And it's like those signs, like once you start, like I was watching a podcast yesterday with Ivan Cornejo, no, Ivan from Contacto Sinestro with Lily Andrade, and they were talking. She was talking about how, like, when you start seeing angel numbers, or when you start seeing like these signs, and you start seeing like whatever it is where you think it's significant or it's meaningful, it's because you're aligning with the frequency of the universe or this higher power. Because and again, you could watch an episode, I don't know when it was, maybe something 50th something episode, where I'm talking about connecting with the universe, and I see angel numbers, and I've been seeing a lot of angel numbers, and like a lot of 88, 77, 99, 4, like recently I saw a 444, a 333, a 111, and I've also seen a lot of ladybugs for these past 2-3 days, where I've been feeling kind of low, and I went to the park for a walk, because I was like, okay, if I don't do anything today and I'm feeling sad, like the one thing at least I could do is go to the park. And I think the first time that happened, I was actually feeling fine, and maybe it was probably last week. I should post a video because I recorded it, and I was like giving my gratitude to the universe, and out of nowhere, a ladybug lands on me, and I was like, for me, that's a sign like the universe is listening to me. And then this week, when I've been feeling low, on I think it was 2 days ago, I was also at the park, and I was writing. I actually was writing down stuff here to start planning, and then ladybug landed on me, and I was like, okay, I'm seeing another sign. I've been seeing a lot of white butterflies, and a ladybug also got into the house, and I was able to see. I even recorded it as well, or took a picture, and I was like, man, I've been seeing a lot of ladybugs. And the cool thing is, like, you can search up what the meaning is, but in reality, sometimes you can't really search up the meaning, like whatever question you had, or whatever mm, type of message you were trying to get. Like maybe that's the way of the universe communicating with you. At least that's from what I understood, what Lily said. But it's really interesting, and I think like these were times like the universe is here with me, or the universe is trying to get my attention. Like, okay, like keep going, keep going, keep going. At least that's how I interpret it. Okay, to end this episode, I'll give some actionable steps, because I think that's also important. I think just talking and talking might not be ideal when you have like what are you gonna do with this information? So the first one is to question your reality. Like, question, is this the life that I want? Do I want to keep living the way that I'm living right now? If I had if I was living the same situation that I'm living now in the next year, or it was gonna be the same thing the next year, like would you be okay with that? And if not, I'm just like, you gotta start questioning, like, okay, what do I want then? Like what's the reality that I want to live? Like, why do I think that this is what I deserve? And that conversation of am I worth it is definitely an episode that I'm gonna be talking about probably today when I'm recording. But definitely start questioning. I think a lot of questioning, journal prompts, like what do I want? What do I like? What type of life do I want? How much money do I want to be making? Stuff like that. Oh, I just saw two butterflies. Sorry, I thought I saw two butterflies. And then some of the questions, and this one I got from a reel. I don't remember who, but it's definitely those like manifestation ladies, and and I really like this one. She asked herself these questions for the past like month, and she started getting results from it. So I'll give it to you. I've been doing it for the past like few days, maybe 2-3 days, and I even turned it into my wallpaper for my phone. So you could definitely do that as well. So the first question, and these are in Spanish, so I'll say it in Spanish, and then I'll translate it to English as well. So the first question is, ¿Qué más es posible? So what else is possible? ¿Cómo puedo mejorar mi día? How can my day get better? And the third one is, ¿qué milagros tienes para mí el día de hoy? What miracles do you have for me today? I think that's the best of my translation. And you are asking these to the universe. So when you say it's like, universe, what else is possible today? And say them out loud. I think that's what I heard from the videos, that you gotta say them out loud. And you gotta feel them. You gotta feel like, ¿qué más es posible hoy? ¿Cómo puede mejorar mi día? And the last one, ¿qué milagros tienes para mí el día de hoy? And feel it. ¿Qué más es posible? ¿Cómo puede mejorar mi día? ¿Qué milagros tienes para mí el día de hoy? And take deep breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And just ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself those questions. Start questioning and start believing. Start believing that you are worth it. You start believing que te lo mereces. Start believing that you were here for a purpose, and out of a billion people here in this world, that you chose to be whatever your name is. For me, is that I chose to be Andrea Tejeda for a reason, with the family that I'm with the experiences that I've had. And right now I'm in this awakening, and we are in this awakening of being better versions of ourselves. Not even better versions of ourselves, but being who we already were, like how being our most authentic self. And I think that's the really cool part. And I think just making these videos as well allows me to be that part of myself, because or start learning more, or I don't know, but these videos are helping some way somehow. And I think one of the best ways is it's giving me motivation to keep going, because when I do these videos, it makes me more enthusiastic about life. And then when I'm having a bad day, I just listen to my own videos. I'm like, and sometimes it's to like kind of laugh about myself, like Andrea, what are you saying? What are you saying? There's an ant. But to end this video, I do want to share really quick my offer. I am trying to do an accountability group where membership, I'm still not sure free or not, but there's a survey down below in the description below. So definitely check it out and fill it up, and so I could get more information on how to make this a better membership, and be able to launch it as soon as possible as well. So if you're interested, definitely fill up that form. Or if you have any other questions, like send me a DM. And for you, like, let me know in the comments below, in the comments in Spotify or Apple Podcast, in Spotify, I think it's only Spotify. Like, what did you think about this episode? How have you been questioning your own reality? When did you start? I think that's a real cool conversation to have. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening or watching. If you're listening on Spotify, again, don't forget to leave a comment and follow. If you're watching or listening on on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share, because that really supports the podcast. And with that being said, thank you so much for listening and watching. Have an amazing, beautiful day. See you in the next one.